Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome. It is another edition here of the Roto Grinders Daily Fantasy Fix podcast here on this Wednesday. I, of course, am Dan Bach, and as I mentioned yesterday, we're going to change up the format a little bit this NBA season, bring a few other voices into the pod because let's face it, you get tired of just hearing me ramble all the time. So joining me today as we get set for a big Wednesday in Daily Fantasy Hoops is a guy appropriately named Hoop 2410, Mr. Mike Petta. Hoop, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Happy to be here. And yeah, I mean, these people have just got to be fed up listening to your voice day in and day out. I mean, we need some new sound on this podcast. No doubt about that.
Yeah, and of course the best radio voice of them all, Big T44, Tony Niehaus. What's going on, T?
Definitely not the best voice, though. I mean, that goes to you for sure. Everybody loves the podcast. The original OG, as they say it, I guess, for you.
Well, I think this is a good mix because we got Mike, we got Hoop, who's like the good-looking dude. Then we got me with the good voice, and you're like right in the middle, T.
I like that. I like being in the middle. I don't want to be on either end because then you get noticed.
Well, we're going to be talking this Wednesday NBA slate. Before we get into that, huge thanks to FanDuel, of course, fine sponsor of the show. And obviously, last night, guys, I don't know about you, but I didn't think there was a chance in hell that FanDuel was going to be able to sell out a 239,000 entry tournament on a 3-game slate. But lo and behold, they did it, and then followed it up with filling a 100K tournament for the late slate. I mean, Hoop, it looks like, FanDuel Hoops is just going to be freaking ridiculous this year. I didn't expect that to really come close to filling, and it filled early.
Yeah, it's super promising just starting out with the bang, and then just looking at the lobby today, everything's already just about half full, if not more. So that's very promising for NBA DFS and I guess the industry overall. So yeah, super excited about that. Obviously NBA, my favorite sport. I think it's Tony's favorite, and might be yours as well now that college football's gone. So super promising, and like I said, the stuff today is already half full, so if you're looking to get in some of these contests, you might want to hop over there pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully they scale them up too as the year goes on. And tonight they're running back that $4 tournament. They're calling it the Clutch Shot, and they're going to set it at a $500,000 prize pool. The Dunk, $100 buy-in, $400K on that tournament. And if you're more into the single entry, limited entry, they've actually got a bunch of those as well. So check them out over on FanDuel. That's going to be the source of our discussion here today as we kind of go through who we like. And before we get to that, though, Big T, living the Big T life, going up to Cleveland, sitting courtside for the Cavs ring ceremony, and then crossing the street going over to Game 1 of the World Series. I mean, we always say CSU Rams got the greatest life out there, but I don't know, Big T. What you just pulled off yesterday was pretty awesome. How'd that go?
I mean, it was cheese was good. Dave Potts, two of the BFFs from the baseball shows, and it was a fun night. Back at it tonight. We got seats next to Marlins Man tonight. So,
hold on, you're going to Game 2 and you're sitting by Marlins Man?
I mean, I don't know if he's going to be there, but we're 5 seats behind the dish, and we're ready to go.
Do you believe this guy, Hoop? I mean, he's
too much of a family man to come.
Not only is this guy probably the hottest player in all of DFS, he's traveling the country, going to the best sporting events in the world. I mean, what more could you want as a human being to live a similar life to Tony? I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah, no, I don't know how the heck you're pulling this off. I mean, your wife is probably the best lady in the world. She's pregnant, and you've got 2 kids, and you just wander off to go to Cleveland.
The best part is she's with me. She's got the kids at the hotel, taking them to the pool. I do my fatherly duties.
Okay, well, I'm impressed that you took the family on a family outing to Cleveland in November or late October. That's usually not my vacation destination, but each their own. To each their own.
I mean, not all of us get to live in Florida, though. Like, some of us have to live in the Midwest and battle through life a little bit here.
Well, as Smizzle always said, life decisions, my friend, life decisions. That's one that I certainly do not regret. Hoop, how did opening night go for you? I mean, it's only 3 games. My cash hit like 316 yesterday on FanDuel, so it was a good day, but I probably limited more of the action just because I didn't really, it's just a crappy 3-game slate. Yeah. But all in all, how'd it go for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think all said and done, I'd finished probably right around even in terms of the financial result, but it's just awesome to have NBA back. It was just exciting to just watch the sport. I mean, it's such a good sport. Then that game, I mean, I thought the Spurs were going to keep it close and maybe, battle to the end, but they put a ass whooping on the Warriors. It was fun to watch, man. It was fun.
I'm not going to lie. I was exhausted, was old, and probably watched about 3 minutes of that game before I fell asleep. Yeah. So I did not see exactly what happened, except that Pau Gasol had like 0 stats in that game. What the hell happened with him?
It was all Aldridge and Kawhi. I mean, they got it done. Kawhi Leonard, unstoppable. Aldridge, I mean, they're getting him the rock nonstop, and he was grabbing all the rebounds, like super aggressive. So it was those two, and honestly, I mean, if they continue with that moving forward, I mean, they're going to be a tough team to beat this season.
And what was the deal with Simmons? Because he was obviously the value guy that you really wanted if you wanted to win tournaments. I think he finished with like 35 fantasy points. So enlighten us on what you saw there, because I know Big T was busy eating hot dogs at the baseball game. So what happened in that one?
So if you're like me, you fell into the Kyle Anderson trap yet again last season. I rostered that guy on a few occasions, and the results were not great. Got sucked back into it last night, and he's just one of those guys that could literally be on the court for 30 minutes and do absolutely nothing. So Simmons came off the bench, big spark, started scoring immediately. It looked really sharp. So, I mean, could be a nice 6-man type player there for the Spurs. He looked good last night.
Yeah, so Kyle Anderson and Courtney Lee doing what they do best, playing a lot of minutes and doing jack squat with them. Now, T, you obviously watched most of that Cavs game, and they dominated the Knicks. What were your kind of takeaways from that? Besides the obvious that like LeBron and Kyrie are 2 of the top 10 players in the league.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm a Kyrie blowhard or whatever, and I love Kyrie, but I mean, that guy looked so good last night. He was just clowning on D Rose, and he just looked unbelievable. And I like my Cavs again. They're in position to make a nice little run, and they got everything in place. They got a few nice pickups, like Dunleavy I like is a nice pickup, Birdman. A couple veterans up that people won't notice until the playoffs that I really like for the playoff-type run.
Yeah, one other thing that I noticed watching that game, I don't know if you picked it up, Tony, but it seemed like they're making an effort to get Kevin Love the ball quite a bit offensively, and he had a lot of time on the court without LeBron, without Kyrie. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be a thing moving forward, because if it is, I mean, if he's going to have 8 to 10 minutes on the court without those guys and be the focal point of the offense, he could be pretty valuable this season.
Yeah, the most important thing in the NBA, as we all know, is like rotations. And Cleveland had a completely different rotation, like you just said. Like Kyrie and LeBron sat in completely different spots than they did last year, and let K-Love be the focal point of the offense. And he looks just awesome. I mean, that playoff run last year where he had some tough times, I think he really grew as a player, and just he's more confident in himself. And he just looked really good last night. I mean, I know he was going against Porzingis and a couple guys that he matches up pretty good against, but it's just him in general. It had nothing to do with playing. He just looks confident. He looks happy. I mean, the guys are including him in like the jokes and the handshakes, and it just looks like they got a lot of good things going in Cleveland.
It's important to be a part of the handshakes, definitely.
I was actually watching the game last night towards the end, and LeBron comes off the court, and like they all have different handshakes amongst each other. Like, how do you remember that?
Well, I'll have to find
you're from Cleveland and you win titles.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got to find the video, but there is a guy who played at Wake Forest, and there's like a YouTube video of it, and I think you just Google it up, like Wake Forest football handshake, and he basically had like 50 different he had a different handshake for everybody on the team. Now, it's one thing to be an NBA and have like, 9 handshakes, remember? But the guy literally, you're talking about like 50 guys over there on a college football roster, and they basically followed him around with a camera and literally in the middle of the lunchroom, walked up to like 3 different guys and does their little crazy little handshake. And it just makes me wonder, like, that's a lot of effort to putting into handshake memory. But to each their own. But let's get to this slate because we got a handful of games to look at here. We're going to go a little differently. I know sometimes people go game by game. And by the way, if you haven't caught Notorious and Stevie in the Morning Grind podcast, they went game by game in that. But we're going to go a little bit positional here as we look at FanDuel here on this Wednesday. So, guys, let's start it off on the high end. And the name that we need to talk about because I tweeted out what I said was bold, and maybe it's not that bold considering he was only like 2 assists or 2 rebounds away from doing this a year ago. But I think Russell Westbrook this year has a legit chance to have one of the greatest offensive seasons in the history of the NBA, including getting a triple-double, averaging a triple-double for the season. When you look at this lineup, it's just totally different. You take Durant out of the equation, take Ibaka out of the equation. This guy's going to do everything. Now, I credit FanDuel for not holding back on the salary at $12,000 today. But against Philadelphia on the road, Hoop, like, I think I got to do whatever I can to fit this guy in because it just feels like 60 fantasy points for him tonight.
Yeah, I give him credit. I mean, they put a solid effort in getting these guys priced up. I mean, if they come out and price these guys with a cap of like 10-5 or something, they're going to be 100% owned. Still going to be super high owned, but in this matchup, he's probably $2,000 to $2,500 too cheap, I think. And I mean, honestly, I $15,000 might be a price that we're going to be looking at paying for this guy at some point this season, to be honest. I'm with you. I mean, there's just no way he doesn't have a phenomenal season. Take away Durant, you take away Ibaka, and a guy like you said that was almost averaging that last season, and gets the a premier matchup here on the road against the 76ers. They should probably keep it close enough at home where he gets his full allotment of minutes. And I mean, he's a guy that we saw last season approaching triple doubles with like 27 minutes played. So yeah, he's got to be the top play. I mean, the one thing is, I mean, you look at all the studs going on the slate, and the top 4 guys are all in elite matchups. Westbrook, Harden against the Lakers, Anthony Davis against the Nuggets, DeMarcus Cousins against the Suns. So it's a loaded slate, but Russell Westbrook probably has to be the best play in terms of total fantasy points when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and I think, we'll get to some of the other positions too, but the one thing I'm finding is there's a little bit better value at, like, center today. So, like, using DeMarcus Cousins, we love Cousins. He's great, but you can get some pretty solid, like, 4K centers in there that work. It's funny for me, the toughest position is small forward for us to roster today, and we don't have a stud to kind of go to there. And then, obviously, Harden against the Lakers we'll talk about. Davis, has the upside that is tremendous, but obviously injury risk will go along with it. But, what do you think the likelihood, T, of Westbrook getting a triple-double, averaging a triple-double? Do you think it's, like, legit something he can do? I mean, it hasn't happened in, like, 70 years in the NBA.
No, I don't think he's going to average a triple-double. I mean, I think he's going to average close to a triple-double, like something like maybe 8 boards and 8 assists type thing. I
think he's going to get 10 assists? Really?
I mean, he's just going to have the ball in his hand so much. I don't think he's going to ever. I mean, maybe anything could happen. It just depends on how mad he is, and he's pretty mad, it sounds like. So, I mean, you could be onto something, but the point is that you're making, and I'm not arguing with, is that every single time he takes the court, he's going to have a good chance at making a triple-double. So, I mean, I love him tonight. It's just $12K. I mean, I haven't dug too deep into the slate yet, but I mean, even to hit value, he's going to have to be well in the 50s and 60s, which we know he can do. But like Hoop said, with all these stars on the slate, I don't think he's like a must play, even though he's a great play, obviously.
Well, I think when we get through this, you'll see I still think there's enough value to make it work. Like, I credit FanDuel for their pricing. It's not perfect, and you don't necessarily want it to be perfect. But they put him kind of where they needed to, at least to start off this season. But I think there's a few other guys that fall into that range because if you plug them in your lineup, just to give you an idea, that gives you $6,000 per position to spend on. So that's not terrible the first night of the year where you've got some guys who are clearly underpriced. So I'm very much all in on Russell Westbrook. Let's get some other point guards here, Hoop. I think it's going to be tough to pay up for this kind of next level of guys in the 8Ks between Walker, Thomas, and Lowry. I think you got to sacrifice something if you're going, Westbrook, certainly in your cash games. But of those three, who would be the most interesting to you between them?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, I'd probably pass on Kemba on the road, so it would be between Thomas and Lowry. I'd probably go Lowry. Lowry at home against the Pistons. He was super consistent last year. I mean, just a safe bet to approach 40 fantasy points. But I'm with you. I think this tier of point guards should be mostly overlooked, and just come up with the extra money and get up to Westbrook if you're going to kind of spend up at point guard. So they'll all be low owned. I mean, maybe if you're playing some tournaments, look to get exposure to these guys. But for cash games, I think you probably want to avoid this tier. However, a guy $400 cheaper than this tier, yes, Eric Bledsoe, I think is definitely a guy to consider at 7.6K, gets this elite matchup. Coming off the disappointing injury last season that took him out, I mean, a majority of the season, at home against the Kings does not get much better than that, and he's 7.6K.
Yeah, I love him. I left him off purposely because he was kind of that next guy that I think falls into cash game playable for us. Because I think if we were going to set a salary on him, I feel like he's like 700 too cheap at least. Like, I think he should be in that 8K territory. Certainly if you factor it in the matchup, not that FanDuel does that on their salaries, but I feel like, if you look, 2 weeks down the road, he's going to be like 8,500. So I love him today against Sacramento too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he should be in that range. Even if he was just 400 more, I think he would look more natural in that range with Lowry and Isaiah and Kemba and just that range. I mean, he fits in that 8K range. And like you guys said, it's a great matchup tonight. So, yeah, everything. I like a guy that's a little cheaper than most, but I do like him.
Moving down, you got Dragic against Orlando. I'm not too interested in him today. Conley against Minnesota. D'Angelo Russell, against Houston. This Houston game has the highest total. We've got D'Antoni back in there. I think using some of these Lakers guys in tournaments is going to be fun to do, Hoop. But, I'm struggling to find where I want to go in cash. And D'Angelo Russell at 6,500, I mean, he's been a little bit more active, it appears, this preseason. But, and obviously, another year, more experience for him. He's probably going to make that turn. But I don't think we can probably look there so much in cash games. But let's move down. Let's find if we can't find some crappers here. You got anybody under 6K that interests you here, Hoop?
Yeah, the one guy that stands out to me is Ty Lawson. I mean, the main thing with cheap point guards is we want cheap point guards that are going to play minutes. And when the coach basically comes out and says, Ty Lawson's going to play between 30 and 40 minutes the first 8 games of the season, that immediately has my interest. He's 5.1K and gets exposure to another high-scoring game here, Kings Suns. I think that total was right around 213 or 214 in a close spread. So 5.1K, I have a lot of interest in Ty Lawson.
What do you think of Moutier there, Big T? You're the Nuggets guy. I know you're high in that team to do well this year. Seemed like, you actually played in the Summer League this year still, which was kind of surprising, lit it up. And, guy who's going to handle the ball a ton. What's your thoughts on him?
First of all, I want to circle back to Russell. I think Russell's my favorite play at the point guard with the price. I just think versus Houston in that high total game, with the new coach, I really like Walton coaching, and I just love Russell. I think he's going to have a monster year, and I love him tonight in that high total versus Houston. But
okay,
down to the lower range, though, I like Moutier a lot. I'm interested to see how they integrate Jamal Murray. I just love him this year as far as an offensive player and what he brings to the table. So I like Moutier, but I also agree, just to talk about the third guy, Lawson. I mean, Lawson looks unbelievable tonight at 5.1K on FanDuel. Like, versus Phoenix, I do worry a little bit about Bledsoe's defense because he's such a good defender if he's on Lawson. But, 5.1K for a guy that's going to play that many minutes in a high-paced game looks really good to me. So those would be my 3 guys at the point guard overall: Westbrook, Russell, and Lawson for me.
Yeah, and I kind of overlook Lawson. I think some people will probably fall in that same category of, I haven't kept that much up on the offseason happenings. And then you remember, oh, yeah, Rondo went to the Bulls. Lawson goes there, and, boom, he's going to get all the minutes. One other name to throw out there for potential tournaments could be Tim Frazier against Denver as well. He's still going to play 35 minutes. He's their starting point guard with Drew Holiday out. But for only 100 more to get Lawson, probably a little bit more desirable play there. All right, let's move to shooting guard here, and we've got James Harden at the top, who's about 800 cheaper than Russell Westbrook. What's the goal here, Hoop? I mean, we talked about the four guys up top, Westbrook, Harden, Davis, Cousins. Do we need to put two of these guys into our lineup today?
Yeah, I think it's easy to do it, so you probably want to go ahead and try to find a way to get at least two of these studs in your lineup. We're going to talk about small forward next, and I know we're on shooting guard here, but that's a position that appears to be pretty weak. So there's a couple different routes we can go at small forward, which would potentially open up some spending routes. And Harden in a great spot
against the Lakers.
Yeah, against the Lakers, he's going to basically be the primary ball handler. This is another guy. When it's all said and done, I think the numbers for Harden and Russell Westbrook on the season are going to end up being pretty similar. I think he's another guy that will come close to averaging 30 points, the 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and he's very good on defense. He picks up a lot of steals as well. So he is a guy that we're gonna try to jam in our lineups a lot this season, and he gets probably the best matchup of all night one against the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, just look at some of these preseason numbers, and I know it's still just preseason, but 14, 10, 9, 26, 15, 7, 28, 11, 6. I mean, he's doing it all. I mean, Big T, he could not have really asked for a better scenario than to get James Harden and a Mike D'Antoni offense. Like, that is just fantasy gold. Like, I don't know if there's another scenario I'd rather ask for, to be honest with you. So now we have it. We just have to play it.
No, yeah, Harden had to just be so excited when they got that coach in there, because he's had some bad coaches too. Like, who's the guy that was there originally? The
McHale, and then Bickerstaff after him.
Like, Bickerstaff was a joke, but McHale, is a good basketball guy, but I just don't think he's adjusted to the modern NBA of, space and pace, and he just hated playing small and really moving the ball. And then you get D'Antoni in here that's just, like you guys said, just pure gold for Harden. I mean, if I would actually play – if I can only play one guy tonight between Harden and Westbrook, I'm pretty sure Harden's my guy. He's only $800 cheaper, which isn't a ton. But I just see no way whatsoever that he doesn't just go bananas on this Lakers team. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll fit them both. At least I will, just because of how high a ceilings and floors they have. But what could you not like about Harden in this spot?
Where do we think about Antetokounmpo as a tournament, pivot here? I mean, clearly, I think Harden and Westbrook are going to be the two highest owned guys on the slate. It's not even going to be close. Antetokounmpo, he put up some really interesting numbers, and he's playing point guard this year. What do you think of him tournament-wise?
Tournament, I think he's got to be up there on the slate as one of the better ones. I mean, you look at what he does. He handles the ball a ton. Had some monster, 50-plus fantasy point. He was hitting 70 on a couple occasions last season, just monster stat lines. 9.4K is going to go completely overlooked here when we have all these other studs playing on the slate. So 9.4K at shooting guard, where night in and night out, there's going to be a ton of busts at the shooting guard position. Just such a high variance position, more so than any other. Antetokounmpo in tournaments looks real tasty.
All right, T, let's get some other options here. I'm not high on DeRozan today. I know he's at home, but that's a really slow game, I think, against Detroit, one that I don't want to mess with too much. Oladipo, what do you think his role is going to be on Oklahoma City? They get, again, that date with Philadelphia.
I love Oladipo. He might be he's one of my favorite guys coming into the season, because I think he just gels perfectly with Westbrook. I think they're going to really play off each other more than people realize, and I think Oladipo's happy to get on a team with some energy. I mean, he just didn't really fit on Orlando the last couple of years. I mean, they even moved him to the bench last year for a while, and I mean, I just think he's got a revival, and I think he's going to have a monster year. I mean, with some of the guys that are cheaper today, it's going to be tough to play Oladipo. But over the course of the season, I'm going to play tons and tons because I think he has a monster season.
Yeah, I like Oladipo too. The one thing I want to see is to make sure the coaching staff makes the right decision. So if Westbrook's going to play, 37, 36, 37 minutes a game, the rest of the minutes he's not on the court, Oladipo needs to be out there, and that would be huge for him. They did a good year towards the end of the season last year of mixing it up, making sure Westbrook, Durant, one of them on the floor at all times. So if he's going to get a lot of time on the court without Westbrook, he could be in line for a real nice season.
Yeah, and I think he's sneaky here for that reason even tonight because that role hasn't necessarily been established. And you look at the other players on this team, it's like who else is going to create a shot when Westbrook is not there? I mean, their starters, they still got, Roberson, who has no offensive ability, Sabonis, who's a rookie, and Adams, who's, basically gets all of his, garbage points in the paint. And then on the bench, it's Anthony Morrow, Singler, Laverne, Enes Kanter, Collison, Ersan. I mean, they have nobody at all who can, handle the ball and be that kind of scorer. I think Oladipo, you're right. If they basically put him in a position where in those minutes that we don't have Westbrook out there, he could be a solid number 2 on that team. And I think sneaky here tonight as well. Let's move down. Devin Booker, we picked on shooting guards against Sacramento in the past. Ben McLemore is still around, but they also have Aaron Aflalo, who they picked up in the offseason. But pretty tasty matchup for Booker and a pretty tasty price tag at $6,200. Who?
Yeah, I have some interest in Booker. It's a really good matchup. I wish the matchup wasn't as good because I want to see how this whole thing plays out with, Brandon Knight, Bledsoe, and Booker. I mean, there should be enough minutes, should be enough shots to go around. I just kind of want to see it. But Booker's the guy. I mean, he should have a big season. I mean, they're looking to him nonstop. But I just kind of want to see how him and Bledsoe and Knight all kind of mesh together first.
I'm assuming you got the player pool up. Any other shooting guards that kind of standing out to you here today?
Just talking about Booker, though, I think Booker might be the guy you see rise the most of any player overall in the league this year. I'm not even worried about those other guys. I think Booker's the superstar on this team, and I think he's going to really separate himself this year. I just love him. I mean, 6.2, you guys aren't going to play him in cash games tonight?
If we can make it work. I mean, again.
I haven't played with the full roster, so, with those guys, you might not be able to make him fit.
Let's just to give you context here. If you wanted to go Harden and Westbrook together on your lineup, you're sitting at about 5,200 a spot. So he's not that far over at 6,200, but you're going to have to find some 4K crappers out there at some of the other positions to make it work. But he's in play. He's definitely in play. Couple other shooting guards to potentially look at. We've got Eric Gordon. Houston, if you remember back to when D'Antoni last coached, you could just stack up that team from top to bottom because it's just run and gun and play no defense and try and score more points than the other team. And he's had a pretty good preseason as well. He's entrenched as the starter there. And don't hate him against the Lakers at just 5,200. Hoop, a couple other names. What do you think of Aflalo if we wanted to look as a under 4K crapper in this game? Again, fast tempo. He is going to start. What do you think?
Yeah, at 3.9K, if you do the multiplier for value, if he gets 18, you're golden. If he gets 10 to 12, you're not completely drawing dead as long as you're able to pay up for some of the studs. So I'm fine. I'm fine saving a little money at the SG2 position. I do like, Eric Gordon, like you said. This offense overall is going to be super valuable just because of this pace they play. And, they're going to be playing probably at the fastest pace in the entire NBA, and you have to figure they're going to look to get him involved in this offense. First game here with the team, really good matchup. I like him. Will Barton at 5.1K. If Gary Harris is out, it looks like he's a game time decision. Did some 5-on-5 yesterday, so if it's announced that he's out, Will Barton at 5.1K, I like quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the point per dollar projections on RG, and we got Aflalo, Barton as 1 and 2, followed by Nicholas Batum at third at only 6.2K. So those are the top price per dollar guys we got. Let's get to the position, though, that I think is going to decide it for a lot of people today, and that's small forward, because it's a nightmare there, isn't it, Hoop? I mean, Paul George, he's fine at home against Dallas, but do we want to pay $9,500 for Paul George when we've got, those four other studs on the board? That's the problem we run into there.
So yeah, this is where it's really two different mindsets, two different thought processes here. It's a tough position. There's nothing that really stands out for value. There's nothing that really stands out to spend on. So these are positions where I think literally you just go and find the cheapest guys that you think won't kill you, or you lock in some security. So, I mean, yeah, Paul George ranks way below the other studs on the slate. The top four guys, he's way below them. But he's at a position that's super, there's a lot of risk. There's just not many standout options. So I think there is some merit to locking in some security, at positions that are pretty weak. You just got to play around with the roster construction and see kind of what fits best. But at the top, Paul George is there, and you look at the rest of the guys at this position, and he's by far the safest option here.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, more of a tournament kind of mentality to take. I mean, in this cash game build today, I don't know. I just can't sacrifice those top two guys tonight. So normally I'm with you on that, but I think it's a nice contrarian option for our GPPs when we're building a ton of lineups. The value that kind of stands out here, Aaron Gordon at 5.6K against Miami today. That pretty much falls under that, or that realm of what we're looking for. 5.2 I think it was if we used Westbrook and Harden there, big team. What do you think of Gordon here? I mean, obviously he can dunk, but that seems a little bit cheap for him against Miami.
I mean, I actually like the small forward at all these cheap guys, just because, like you guys said, if we're paying those top two guys and we got 5.2, I like a ton of these guys down here. I like Aaron Gordon to get close to value. Luol Deng, I mean, I don't know a ton about what his role is going to be for the Lakers until we see it, but versus Houston in that high total game, I mean, I have to think he can get into the mid-20s and get close to hitting value. I mean, Harrison Barnes at 4.8. Everyone makes fun of Harrison Barnes, but he's going to start. He's going to play big minutes. And he's 4.8K on a team that needs him to do some stuff. So I love that price at 4.8. You got Kid Gilchrist. I mean, I think he's healthy, I'm assuming. Is he hurt?
No, I don't think he's – I mean, I think he's healthy, but I'm not interested in him.
You got Hollis Jefferson at 4.3K. I think he might be my favorite value guy at the position.
Okay, what's his story? Because he's the top point per dollar guy we've got on RG, and I don't know. I mean, I know that team has nothing, but
he was good before he got hurt. He was crushing.
Yeah, what do you think, Hooper?
He's another one of those guys that he's going to get the minutes. Their team is so shitty that he's going to get the minutes. He's going to play, but he's one of those guys that can literally be on the court for 35 minutes and get you 7 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 2 turnovers. But on this slate at this position, it's a risk I'd be willing to take. Another guy that I do kind of like, you guys didn't really mention yet, is Jay Crowder.
Yeah.
5.5K. He's a guy that can kind of contribute all across the board, just kind of like a grinder. I don't mind him at 5.5K. I mean, Jefferson, he's going to get the minutes.
He's like 20 years old too, though. Like he's got some upside, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Tony Snell is going to be. Looks like he's
easy.
No, I'm saying he's not going to play. He's not going to play today. So looks like he's got an ankle injury. I'm not sure. Milwaukee, do they have Beasley? Is he going to? If Beasley would be in the starting lineup at 3,900. Knowing
Mirza would probably start, wouldn't he? I thought I heard Mirza was starting for Milwaukee.
Okay.
Teletovic?
He's only at 4K, so he's basically the same price. I mean, any interest there on those guys?
I just like those other young. I mean, like even Ingram at 4K. Like I like those young guys. I use your rule, DB. Like I hate the old guys. Give me these young bloods in there that can at least have some energy. I mean, opening night, I don't know. I really like Gordon, Barnes, Jefferson. I mean, even James Ennis is super cheap at 4K. Like, all these guys are so cheap that I don't really feel like there's that much risk at a spot we need savings.
Why is Stanley Johnson the minimum? Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, but I mean, he's the minimum. Should play like what, 25 minutes off the bench? I don't know.
Just 3,500.
Just a thought.
He falls into
you're
the
the
same
Detroit
role
guy.
too.
You're the Detroit guy. What's the book on Stanley Johnson?
Well, I'm assuming he has a similar role off the bench, probably 20 to 25 minutes at a crappy position. And maybe I'm missing something, but I mean, he's the stone minimum, so I guess he's in play.
He falls into that same exact role for me too, where like he's a young guy. He could take a big jump this year, and I don't think anyone would be surprised.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of whether he gets on the floor. The one drawback you've got on that game, it's I think, is that the lowest total on the board today?
It's a nasty game for sure.
Yeah, 194.5 and a 93 team total for the Pistons in that road game. It's a tough spot. I think there might be a better time to play him, but again, we're dumpster diving here at small forward today, so you could certainly go that route.
What's Brandon Ingram's role going to be in your guys' mind in that high total game? I mean, he's going to play minutes, right?
He's not starting. He's going to be behind Dang, but I mean, I think I'd probably put him for 25 minutes.
Yeah, like for 4K, he can still score. Like, he's a scorer. He's not built to play, but versus this D'Antoni offense, like, you're going to have a chance to score some points against them. They're not going to defend. So, I mean, I kind of like his little burst at 4K there.
I wish he was stronger. I mean,
I wish he was stronger.
I do. He's like ridiculously skinny. But
who's skinny? Just being at that Cleveland game, like the Zinger man. Oh man, I feel like I could
really
him in the post. I mean, that dude is.
I don't think there's any chance that I think he looks twice the size of Ingram.
No, I don't see how he could be twice the size of anybody. He was like, I mean, if he turns sideways, you don't even see him.
But you bring up some good points about the pace and the style of game. That actually might fit.
It's just a massive total. I mean, you guys are like me, and we like targeting these high total games, and the total is so much higher than any other game, and neither team's going to play any defense. So I just want as much exposure to that game as I can get.
And we didn't even talk about Trevor Ariza on Houston side there as well. I mean, he's never a fun guy to roster, and he can have some really nice games and then go absolutely, silent for you and, throw a 6 spot up on the board. But, again, with 114 team total for Houston, you can't really have too many Rockets, I think. All right, let's get to power forward here. Anthony Davis, again, I think we can agree he's kind of a tournament option most nights. And, I don't hate the Brow as much as everybody else hates the Brow. Where do you come out on the Brow here, Tony?
I was on record as saying it. I think he's got a chance to be the MVP this year. I mean, everyone's going to say that he's going to get hurt, and obviously in the past he has. But if he stays healthy all season, which is a big if at this point, I think he's got a great chance to be the MVP. He's just in a great spot to put up monster numbers, and if he does, New Orleans is going to be in the playoff race, and I just love him this year.
What about this matchup? He's going to be going against Jokic/Nurkic.
Yeah, I don't like him tonight. I mean, this is a terrible – even in tournaments, like Westbrook and Harden, even though they're high-owned, I just can't roster Davis over those guys, even in the tournament.
So you're worried about the Denver interior defense? Like you can't play him because he's going against Denver?
Jokic is a great defender.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's Anthony freaking Davis. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's the price.
I like Davis. I like him a lot.
You're going to play him over Harden and Westbrook?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
you're going to play all three of them?
I wouldn't not play him because he's going against the Denver interior defense.
Well, and the price and the slate's not because of that. Like if Harden and Westbrook wasn't on the slate, we would love him.
Yeah, but I mean, I still like him a ton, and I think the matchup's good. I mean, those guys, they're still young. I mean, he's going to have his way with them. So I don't know. I like Davis a little bit more. Power forward, I don't know. I mean, is there a ton of value here? I mean, we can keep going down.
I think Ibaka is the guy that really stands out. Not the guy that I'd love to roster, but what is he, like 50?
4,800. He's a stone lock today.
4,800. I mean, that's a plug and play, right? Got to be.
Yeah, they're talking about
cash games.
Yeah, they're talking about like running a good portion of their offense through him. I mean, you add in the blocks, the rebounds.
They're going to be
4.8K.
terrible if they do that. I'll tell you
They
that.
just traded Oladipo for the guy. Like, they think highly of him.
Yeah, no, like that. Literally, I read something. They're talking about running portions of the offense through him. Like, 4.8K is gonna be way too cheap. Another guy up there a little bit higher, Julius Randle. I think he has a big season and gets more exposure there to that high total Rockets Lakers game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are your two guys, right? In cash games? I mean, those two stick off the page at me.
Yeah,
63 is a little pricey for Randall for me. I mean,
Massive total, though, in that game.
Tony, but you're going to roster the whole freaking team on both
Why not?
sides?
I mean, they're all going to hit value, so why not roster them all?
yeah, I like Randle a lot.
Yeah, 6,300 on him. There's not much around. How about Jabari Parker? This guy, I like Jabari Parker a lot. I mean, it's a tougher matchup here versus Charlotte, but the Charlotte team's evolving a little bit. They got rid of old man Al, who's slow and whatnot. So I think Parker's not bad at 6,100. He had a monster preseason, and he's another guy who has really gotten better. I know when he's gotten hurt a lot, but when he's been on the floor, he was solid last year.
I like Parker a lot. Even tonight, at 6K, I think too cheap. I think this is a guy towards the end of the season that we're going to be paying maybe like 7.5K for. I think he's that type of player. They are looking to get him really involved to end the season last year. The minutes were way up there, and I think the minutes will be up there again this year. Just a safe option. It just seems like a safe bet to get like 16 and 8, throw in maybe a block and a steal, and that's value right there. So I like him.
I'm just trying to figure out how that defensive matchup is going to go. I mean, is Dellavedova a starter, or are they put in the free cap point guard to start the season? Dellavedova the starter?
I think he's starting. I mean, they gave him a bunch of money. I would think he's starting for sure.
Okay, I figured as much. My small worry is Kid Gilchrist on him, but you'd think they'd throw him on Giannis, and he could get matched up with like Marvin Jones or somebody, or Marvin Williams. Marvin Jones would be a good matchup for him for sure.
I might be in the minority, but I don't like Jabari at all. I mean, 6.1. I mean, everybody else in that range is better than him.
Who?
Well, Julius Randle for one. I mean, it's a 193. It's a 30-point less total. Like I just can't do it.
You said everyone in that range is better, and you named one guy, so I guess that's really not the case.
I mean, I'm sitting here like I'd rather play Cantor at 5.1, who's way cheaper.
Well,
I'd rather play Gorgie Dang at cheaper. I'd rather play Tobias Harris in the same
I would not
range.
rather play Gorgie Jang than Jabari Parker. No freaking chance. No way.
I would.
No.
I mean, I'd rather play Jokic for sure in the same range. Like, I mean, 1,000,000%.
It's Anthony Davis against the Brow?
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'll take all. We'll just go one. We'll put like a peanut on each matchup, and I'll just take every guy versus Jabari, and we'll see who ends up with more peanuts at the end of the day.
Sign me up.
You guys can have your 193 total. I'll go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's move to another name down here. Again, we've got Ibaka at 48. What about Saric? Came out this morning that he is going to start. We've got no the high top fade. Noel's out. Embiid's on a limited minutes. Obviously, Ben Simmons is going to be out for the foreseeable future. He's probably going to play a pile of minutes as a starter here today at just 4,900, and this guy can like pretty much light it up. Hoop. I don't hate him.
What's wrong with Saric though? Like, why does it says probable face on my screen? What's wrong with his face?
Well, I can tell you one thing by looking at the picture here on FanDuel, it's not a pretty sight. So maybe that.
He's playing now. I saw he's starting today.
Yeah, so 70 freaking Sixers. I don't know. I mean, I got to see one game from this team before I can roster. I just don't think I can roster a 76er on opening night. I don't know. It's just I don't know.
I mean, I thought they would be double-digit dogs in that game. They're not. Maybe they can keep it close.
You don't want to know why they're not. You guys said that OKC roster. I mean, it was bad. When you were naming those names, I almost fell out of the chair.
It's horrible. I think he's the one guy for Philly that I would look at, though, at that price tag, knowing he's going to start and that we've got that front court, there's not much else there right now. I mean, looking at Philadelphia, let's see, we're got again. Embiid has looked good this preseason, but he's not going to play more than 20 minutes. Rashawn Holmes, I mean, Okafor's out.
I like the Sarge call a lot. I think I mean, in the Olympics was the only time I've really seen him a lot. But, I mean, as far as the tournament, obviously you're not going to play him in cash games. But as far as the tournament, he could be a sneaky, big option. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all tonight if he had a big game.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty good play today. Let's see, any under 4K crappers here? I'm not seeing much.
Larry Nance, maybe. I have no idea what his role is.
Of course. You're just playing everybody in that game.
I mean, okay. The total's only 20 points higher than every other game.
I'm just busting your balls a little bit there.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. I like that. I like the balls busting.
I'm not seeing a whole lot down here.
I don't see anything.
Yeah. Let's get to center, though, because I think this is another really interesting spot for us here tonight. Like, obviously, on the high end, you've got Boogie Cousins, who, going against Alex Len. I didn't research to see how he did against him in this matchup, but I'm imagining pretty well because he's DeMarcus Cousins. He's just a really good player. Again, that $10K price tag going to make it hard. Would you rather go Cousins or Anthony Davis, Hoop, since you're kind of on Davis a little bit? You had to pick between those two.
Cousins. Semi-biased, so I mean the whole thing last year with that dude not being able to stay on the court kind of has me worried. He's just so soft.
So you're going to play Harden, Westbrook, and Boogie over it, but you're going to make fun of us for not liking AD?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I like all.
He's your fourth guy. Like, what are you going to play all 8 guys? Where's that price structure?
How much does that leave me? Like 2.5K per position?
I did the research. If you played the top 3, because basically Boogie and AD are about the same price, it puts you at about $4,200 a spot. So,
there we go. All right,
you can make it work.
But we do have value here. See, that's the one reason why I think I kind of like Davis a little bit more, because look at some of these 4K guys that we have. We've got Adams at 4.7. We got Nurkic at 4.6 against a Sheik who's terrible. Clint Capella, in Tony's high total game at just 4.2 has been lighting it up. All 3 of those guys, I think, look really, really attractive in that 4K range, which you'd kind of need to be at if we wanted to get crazy and roster 3 of these monster names.
Yeah,
who do you like best out of those?
For me, probably Capella. I mean, gets more exposure to that Houston game, and that just seems too cheap for him. But I don't mind Steven Adams. Nice price there, 4.7. 7K really turned it on at the end of last season. So I like both those guys.
What do you think, T?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to go cheap because all those guys are good plays. I mean, Adams is a great play. Did you guys say Nurkic? I love Nurkic too. Yeah, Nurkic and Capella. Even Mozgov at 3.9. They gave him a bunch of money. Get more exposure to that game.
Oh, man.
I think Capella, though.
Can't wait to see your lineups, T. Can't wait to see your lineups.
Well, I'm going to have 5 or 6 guys in that game for sure. And then, I mean, people, they're all cheap. Like, how do you not?
Are we passing on Anthony Towns? I mean, he looks like he's going to have a breakout season this year. He's 8.8 against Memphis. It's probably not the spot where we want to play him. I still think Memphis is a team we just kind of avoid, right?
Yeah. Yep. Probably the worst matchup you can possibly get here against the Grizzlies off him. But one guy I do kind of like a little bit lower than that is Vucevic. Matchup not great against the Heat, but Biyombo's out. So that should lock him in to 30-plus minutes tonight. Don't have to worry about who was that coach last year that everyone hated? Who?
Skiles.
Yeah, Skiles gone. So that should be a big boost. So in this range, I like Vucevic quite a bit.
Yeah, he's 7.7. And Whiteside, by the way, is a beast. He's going to eat this season. I mean, he's too expensive probably I don't know if the roster build fits him today at 8.7, but he's going to have some monster games this year. Is there anybody let me quickly get to that Heat, because I think that Orlando is going to be terrible this year. Is there anybody on the Heat at all that we'd be interested in today? Anybody.
I mean, you just said it, Whiteside in tournaments. I mean, Whiteside has as much upside as anybody when he plays. I mean, he's had 10 blocks several times, hasn't he? I mean, he can just go bananas, especially against a guy like Vooch. Like,
Vooch can't play D.
He's going to destroy Vooch. Like, they might destroy each other a little bit, but Whiteside's for sure going to destroy him.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm kind of fading the boogeyman a little bit today. I just kind of love these center matchups a tad bit better. But there you go. That's pretty much covers it for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the three-man pod. We're going to bring it back 2 days a week, probably like Wednesday and Fridays. We got these monster NBA schedules for you. But Big T, I expect to see. So we're going to see you on TV. What are you wearing tonight? What's the gear?
I got to go buy some gear. It's freezing out here. Like last night, going over there from the hoops to the baseball, it was cold. Like I got to go get some new gear, some gloves, some hat. I don't know what I'm going to wear, but you'll see me next to Marlins, man. Me and the cheese.
I want to see you stand out. Wear something like that will notice you.
Go shirtless.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
Go your chest.
And make sure
to send me. Yeah, you don't want to see me with the painted chest. I guarantee that.
Well, enjoy yourself out there, T. Hoop, good luck to you tonight as well. And everybody, thanks so much for listening. Download us over there on iTunes and Stitcher. And, keep it locked in here on RotoGrind. There's lots of good stuff for you all day long, as it should be a fun Wednesday in DFS Hoops. For Mr. Petta, Mr. Big T, I'm Dan. Have yourself a great Wednesday night, and we will see you.